Hi, I'm Armando Loera and I work in Under Par. We are an agency that does tailor-made golf experiences in Mexico and abroad. We take care from tea times to hotels and tours and everything in between. Today, we're going to talk about Scotland. For this, we have Lee Derrick joining us, who is, our associate over in Scotland, and he has been working with us and taking care of all the Mexicans we send over his way and to all of Europe for more than 10 years. We're going to try to give you guys a better picture of the country of Scotland and try and answer all the questions that may come up before someone travels to Scotland. So here we go. How are you, Lee?
I'm good, Armando. Great to see you again, my friend.
Hi, nice to see you too, my friend.
And it's certainly interesting times. And right now is it's very much the start of the golf season. So we should have been inviting and welcoming our first Mexican guests in a couple of weeks. But unfortunately, as I think most places around the world, golf courses are closed and airlines and aircraft are grounded at the moment. So, but it gives us the opportunity to talk and to meet like this and to discuss, basically the home of golf in Scotland.
Definitely, it's always fun to talk to you, my friend. So let's talk about a little bit of Scotland, a brief description of the country.
Well, Scotland, it's a population of 5 million. So, in Mexican terms, that's tiny. It's 5 million people, but it pretty much takes about 1/3 of the landmass of the island of Great Britain. So when if people look at Britain, they'll see that kind of scepter-shaped isle. That's Great Britain, and then you have the United Kingdom, if you like, which is the country which includes England, Scotland, Wales, and then the northern part of the Isle of Ireland. So Scotland, you'll see at the very top of the island of Britain, and you've got kind of the Atlantic Ocean to the north and west, and then you've got the North Sea over to the east. And then around kind of Scotland, you have about 700, 800 small islands, some really tiny, some quite large, which have got decent populations and, a number of golf courses on as well. I think when people think of Scotland, people think, well, it's always raining there. It's grey and it's always raining. It does rain a lot, but it's not always raining, and you get some really kind of good weather. Probably the west coast of Scotland is probably warmer and it's probably wetter than the east coast, and that's primarily because the Gulf Stream comes up from the Atlantic Oceans up that west coast. So you do get a lot of kind of wet weather. You get a lot of greenery. So I think, when you were over, about 18 months ago, you were kind of noticing how green it was, over in Scotland. Certainly on that west coast when we were looking at some of the golf courses down there. On the east coast, it tends to be a little bit cooler because of the North Sea. And that, if you think where we are, it's kind of coming from Scandinavia and from kind of Eastern Europe. So when those kind of climates come in, it tends to be a little bit cooler and often a bit drier. But it's the weather's very changeable, and so people say, well, when's the best time of the year to come over and play golf, for instance? Well, we'll find that the golf courses are pretty much open year round. We do get snow, but it tends to be on the kind of higher ground, so there's very good ski season in Scotland as well. But certainly in the lowlands and out on the coasts, then most of the golf courses stay open year round. But the golf season is very much from I would say the best conditions probably from mid-April through to, maybe the mid-October. And then the weather in between, I mean, traditionally you would be saying, May through September is brilliant. April you could have showers, and October the days are a little bit shorter. But now the weather systems everywhere are slightly different. And I think last year June, it rained a lot. April, May were fabulous. And in October and even November, in terms of the weather were good. But certainly we'd be looking April, May, June, as I say, through to middle of October. We get the longest days around June, end of May, June, and throughout June. So, it is conceivable that in the middle of June, you could be teeing off at 6 o'clock at night and easily get 18. Easily
That
get
is
18.
amazing. Yeah. That is amazing. And what I always tell my clients is, well, especially for the people going from Mexico over there, is that to be prepared and take an umbrella, all the wet gear, and also bring something for if it's sunny outside. But to be prepared for that change in the weather from one day to the other, and also to enjoy it a couple of, if it's a rainy day, enjoy it. That's the Scottish experience.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think
it's part of it.
It is very much part of it. And you're right. I mean, average temperatures in winter, come down to, about 42, 43 on average. In summer, we're looking at an average, I would say, mid 60s. I think back in 2003, it went up to the 90s, which is Mexican weather. But, you say you can expect that change from one day to another. You can really expect it within one round. So you can be teeing off and it's beautiful. The wind picks up, and you could get hailstones, and then the sun comes out again and it's windy again, and that's all. You can be taking off your wet gear in one round. So it's almost like playing golf in a car wash sometimes. So
yeah, it's always good to suit up in layers, no? So
correct. Yeah, absolutely. And and as everybody who kind of comes over, we provide the travel packet, and it tells them exactly, what we think that they should be bringing or they should be packing as well.
Yes.
I mean, other things, the currency, they use the pound, the pound sterling, as the rest of the United Kingdom do. I think currently that's trading around $1.24.25, and about
30 pesos also. 30 pesos. It's right now it's close to the 30 pesos.
Correct. Yeah.
Between 28 and 29.50, more or less.
Yeah. And that's because, we've had all the issues with kind of Brexit, which kind of devalued the pound somewhat, over the last kind of 3 or 4 years. I would say that probably just over half the people, if you like, kind of identify with Christianity. So, we have a bit of a split. So you have probably, of that 50%, I would say, kind of 30%, kind of Church of Scotland. So it's a kind of Protestant of nature. And then, another 20% are a Roman Catholic, and then various denominations of Christianity and kind of other religions. But Christianity is certainly the main religion within Scotland. And overall, I mean, and language, the language, if you like, is English. You will
a little
find
bit hard to understand if you're not used to the accent.
Yeah, I think you'll find over more Edinburgh, St Andrews over the East Coast, it can be a little easier. Certainly if you're over Glasgow and the West Coast, it can be a little challenging, and especially if...
Yeah, but the people are really nice. I was surprised because here in Mexico, we have the image that people from all over Great Britain are a little bit cold. We are Mexicans, we're proud to say that we're very warm people. And when you ask around, hey, how are people over in Great Britain? Even though they don't know them, maybe they would say, oh, they're a little bit cold. But I was surprised when I went over there. The people are amazing. They're really warm, and
And I think
they know that you might not be able to understand very well their accent, but uh, they'll get
they'll
that.
after a couple of whiskeys, you tend to understand them better.
Definitely.
But I think you're right. I think overall people are kind of warm, welcoming. We've had a lot of Mexicans over the last 10 years, and I think certainly, when people say, "Oh, where have you come from?" and they say Mexico, and whether it's Mexico City or Puebla or Guadalajara, they're surprised because we do get a lot of Americans coming over. There's historically we've had a lot of Chinese and increasing a lot of Japanese and increasingly Chinese, and Mexico, hasn't really featured, and so when you do come over, there's always interest, and there's always and a lot of people remember back to kind of the Mexico World Cup and things like that. So you start talking about football and various other things. So it's you always get a good welcome.
Yeah, and talking about going over there, a lot of people might ask themselves, how do I get over to Scotland? Where's the best way to go? So there's a lot of connections. If I'm not mistaken, you can fly over to Munich, to Madrid. Please let me know if I have a mistake. To London, in my case, I think the best way to go, if you have the chance to fly over to London, spend a couple of days there, and then you can take a train from London to Edinburgh, which is about 4 hours. 4 hours. Yeah. And it's quite an experience because you go along the, sometimes along the coast, correct? Or and the scenery is just amazing. So
I think you're right. So there's no direct flights from Mexico into Scotland. So traditionally a lot of people do go through London and typically through Heathrow, but all the kind of the big capital cities have connections. Amsterdam, Madrid, as you say, Frankfurt, in Barcelona, they do as well, Lisbon. So most of the European countries do have connections. You're looking about an hour flight from London, probably about 45 minutes from Amsterdam, an hour and a half from Frankfurt, and a couple of hours, from anywhere in Spain or Portugal, and probably about 2.5 hours from Portugal. And then, as you say, if you're coming up on the train, so if people come into London, maybe overnight in London or spend a couple of days, then you travel from kind of North London, a train station called King's Cross, very central into London, and that'll take you right into the heart of Edinburgh. And and you're right, there are trains that'll do it in 4 hours, others in 4.5 hours. You're not having to go through security or anything, and you're straight into the middle of both of those cities without, because certainly Heathrow is probably about 40k outside of the city. Edinburgh Airport's not bad, but it's still a taxi journey or a tram ride into the city. So it is, and once you get over the border from England into Scotland, you're just up the coastline, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
And the airports, there's two main airports in Scotland. There's Glasgow and Edinburgh, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So they're the two big cities. So Edinburgh is the capital city. It's not the biggest city, but it's the capital city. Population about 450,000, but it's certainly the busiest airport and the most connections, if you like. And Glasgow Airport. So Edinburgh tends to be seen kind of east coast and central, and then Glasgow over on the west coast. And if you're looking at a map, you say, wow, they're kind of either side of the country. It's about 45 minutes between the two. So if you are starting an experience on the west coast and you fly into Edinburgh, it's no big deal. but Glasgow also have a few flights up to, into London. Probably not as many from Europe. That's Edinburgh. You've also got other airports like Aberdeen up on the northeast, and Inverness, which is, if you're playing up in the Highlands, then Inverness has direct flights to London also, and Dundee Airport, which is a small airport and has flights into London City Airport. That's a small airport in London. But yeah, so it's got two main airports, three others, so it easily serviceable from anywhere in Europe.
Great. Okay, so there's three main sections to golf in Scotland. So depending on where you're gonna golf, I think it's the best you choose which airport to fly to. But let's talk a little bit about the three main sections that we have in Scotland. Please.
Yeah, I think there are. There's, if you like, there are three sections where people tend to travel to, but certainly, for us domestically, within, say, the UK and Europe, there's possibly even 6 identifiable regions. But certainly the main one for everybody, if you've not played golf in Scotland before, is St Andrews. So Scotland, typically is known as the home of golf, and specifically St Andrews is known as the home of golf. The reason that international visitors like coming to Scotland, I think it's where golf began, and it's the links type golf. So that's a different type of golf than you're going to play typically in Mexico. So
Lee, tell us a little bit about that fun fact that St Andrews is not the first golf course ever made. It was where there were first recordings of people playing golf, but it was not the first golf course, correct?
No, I think Musselburgh, which is just outside Edinburgh, and then there is an area in Scotland, in Edinburgh as well, but Musselburgh, which is a 9-hole golf course in the middle of a racetrack now, in the middle of a racetrack. That is the oldest golf course in the world. And then,
more or less, what year was it founded?
I think we're looking about 400 years ago, I think, for Musselburgh. Yeah, it's a long time. And then you're looking at the old course. It is where the old course is now laid, and it's formed. That's where there's certainly the first records of people playing golf. Mm-hmm. And so, if you like, that's the kind of it's the Holy Grail. It's the Mecca, if you like, where people have to come and play the old course, and it's where literally every great golfer ever has come to play.
What do you have to say to the Chinese or to the Dutch that they say that golf was invented in the Netherlands or in China?
Have another whiskey and just play golf. It's like, yeah. If it was invented either places like there, then we'd see the game have been played there for many more years than just the last 20 or 30 years. So we're looking at, certainly I think in around 1400, in the 15th century, the game of golf was banned in Scotland. So the king was like, too many people are playing golf and they're not practicing the archery. And so archery at the time, you needed your soldiers and your people to be skilled in archery. So because there's no guns or anything then, so they need to be skilled in archery. So for a while, golf was actually banned in Scotland. But yeah, I mean, typically, people, international visitors are coming to play links style golf, and where you know, in Mexico, it's typically parkland golf. You may have link style courses where the fairway,
just a couple.
know, just a couple, yeah. But it's typically, you know, the golf courses are on the coastlines, and there's no trees. It's very undulating fairways, and you have the kind of the small or the large pot bunkers. So it's, you know, you do get penalized if you land in a bunker, and by its very nature, you're on the coastline, so it's gonna be windy. So the wind is always playing a factor, and you know, a lot of the old course designs where you're going out for 9 holes and then you come back in for 9 holes, and you know, at any point you could be with or against the wind, or it could be coming sideways. And so the type of shot that you're playing is very different. It's not target golf, it's bumping and running.
You have to practice also your stinger shots.
Yeah, little bump and runs up underneath the wind, you know, so making use of that 4-iron and 5-iron little punches, which you know will still travel quite a bit. So I've just got a little map here just to kind of show you, if you like, the golf courses. So I'll just reduce that down a bit. So as we were talking, you know, you've got Edinburgh Airport here, and then you've got Glasgow Airport here. That's about 45 minutes between the two, a nice highway between the two. Just about 75 minutes up the coast here, you have St Andrews. And so you have to cross over a bridge here. You can do it either by train or car, a little bridge over that, what's called the Firth of Forth here. And Dundee is just around here. So Dundee's about 45 minutes from St Andrews. St Andrews about 75 minutes from Edinburgh. And then you have up in Aberdeen here, which I would allow certainly about 2.5 hours from Edinburgh, about an hour and a half from St Andrews. And then over to the west, you have Inverness, the airport here, a small airport, and that's a good 2 hours between Edinburgh and Aberdeen. Inverness to Edinburgh is about 3 hours by car, and a similar time down to Glasgow. And so when we're looking at the areas, you have this area here just to the east of Edinburgh, which is called East Lothian. And you know, probably the standout course there is Muirfield, which is on the open roster.
It's a top 100 golf course, no?
Oh yeah, Muirfield's probably in the top 20, in the top 15 even, I think, in the latest golf.com rankings. So Muirfield is extremely high, certainly top 20 golf course.
It's a private golf course, but with us, we can, well, there's one day of the month, I think it's 1 day or 2 days, Lee, that it's open for public, and we can get them, we can get people to play it.
Yes, we can. I mean, it becomes, I mean, it is challenging. It's probably harder to get on Muirfield than it is the old course. And, you know, we'll talk about the old course, the various nuances of playing, you know, St Andrews later. But, you know, Muirfield is a challenging golf course. But, you know, we have, I have, you know, Mexicans, we've got Mexicans booked in later this year in September. You know, wonderful golf course, and that's, you know, within this area here, there's about a 10-mile stretch, and, you know, 23, 24 golf courses. Just coming over to the west for a moment, here you see this bunch of golf courses tightly knit here. So this is called Ayrshire, and you have 3 open venues here. You have Royal Troon, and then down to Turnberry here, and the Ayrshire course there is a wonderful golf course, now owned by our friend Mr. Trump. But Royal Troon is here, and you also have Prestwick, and Prestwick hosted the first 12 Opens, dating back to 1860. But you do have, you know, other wonderful golf courses, Gales Links, Dundonald Links, Western Gales. There's a second course at Royal Troon called the Portland course. And that's another very good area to visit. And then obviously we have St Andrews, which we're going to talk about shortly. And when people ask about playing St Andrews, it's actually, St Andrews is the town, and most people want to play the old course in St Andrews. There are actually 11 golf courses in St Andrews. And just north of there, we have what's called Carnoustie Country. So Carnoustie Golf Club is there, where it was held the Open in 2018. And, you know, there's 8 or 9 beautiful golf courses there. And actually Carnoustie, Carnoustie Golf Club has an affiliation with Mexico. One of its founding members became the head pro at Mexico City Golf Club. Willie Smith, that's right. That's right. And he actually played, I think, in the 1951 Open in St Andrews, representing Mexico. And
he's the one who designed Chapultepec Golf Club.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a great connection, and there's a nice little kind of museum there. And we've got a friend, Bill Thompson, who's the captain, or was the captain at Carnoustie Golf Club, who always welcomes our guests and shows them around and gives them a little bit of history.
I really like that experience. I always recommend it to our...
Absolutely. It just kind of shows that connection, and that, you know, Mexico has, you know, has great links with the game of golf. Then we'd pop up to Aberdeen, and that's an area. So you've got the Trump course there, and Cruden Bay and Royal Aberdeen, all fantastic golf courses. And then another little area is kind of this Highlands area here. And you have Castle Stewart, which was built 10 years ago, is, you know, certainly a top 100, top 70 golf course. And then probably the standout golf course is Dornoch, Royal Dornoch, which is, I think in the last rankings, it was number 10 in the world. But fun courses up here are Brora, Galspay. Brora, you know, you're likely to find sheep on the fairways and you know, chewing down the rough for you, helping you out there as well. So, so the 3 main probably areas that you're familiar with, obviously St Andrews, East Lothian here, Ayrshire here, but also other notable areas are Carnoustie, Aberdeenshire, and Inverness, the Highlands, and then not forgetting right in the centre here, you know, we have the kind of the world-leading golf resort, if you like, and that's Glen Eagles, where they staged the Ryder Cup in 2014.
So Lee, if someone would say, hey, I want to play the best golf courses in all of the sections, let's say I want to play St Andrews, then go to Muirfield, Turnberry, then go over to, let's say, Aberdeen, and end up playing Royal Dornoch. So basically, to go all over the country, how long would that take? If I personally, I don't like one night stays in a hotel. So at least 2 nights, correct? Yeah. So for that, how long would you recommend if someone wants to do entire Scotland in one holiday?
You'd be looking, I think, you know, first of all, then, you know, as you know, every one of our kind of experiences is bespoke. So there's no kind of, you know, package, which is, you know, that we just kind of sell repeatedly. You know, everyone has, you know, different, you know, kind of wants and needs. And so if they do want to play that, you know, we would emphasize, you know, like you have then, just about the changing of the hotels. So we try to you know, do a 3-night, you know, kind of minimum stay, if you like, so that you're not kind of chopping and changing. And, you know, so if somebody was wanting to kind of come down, you know, you're invariably going to fly into Edinburgh or Glasgow, and you'd be looking probably to come down here, and, you know, you'd say, you know, a good 3 nights here, you could probably do, and then coming up to Inverness. So that's, as I say, a good 3 hours. And this is a wonderful drive. I mean, this mountain region here is a big ski season in the winter, ski area in the winter, but it's beautiful scenery when we're going up. And one of the James Bond films, you know, this was kind of all shot up and around this area here. But you could do a couple of nights up in the Highlands, you know, coming over here for a couple of nights in Aberdeenshire, and then either down to, you know, into St Andrews, and then from St Andrews you can come across to Carnoustie, you can go up to Glen Eagles, and you know it's safe to say probably a good you know 5 nights, you know 4 or 5 nights in St Andrews. So you're looking at a couple of weeks, you know, to not really you know tire yourself out, not to feel rushed. And also to take in Scotland.
Definitely.
You know, there's some people want to play 36 holes a day. They never see anything, and you know, and they want to kind of drink hard and stay up late, and then early tea times. And usually by day 3 or 4, they're struggling. So you want to pace it out, and a good couple of weeks if you were going to go all over Scotland.
That is just what we on their part we try to encourage, no, to not only play golf. If the client wants to play golf day and night, we have no problem with it. But we try to encourage and visit the different places and cities and enjoy the country that you're visiting. No,
That's it. Yeah, I always kind of say, well, you know, you kind of want to smell the coffee as well, don't you? You know, you know, and as I say, I mean, it's, you know, as we know, it's each to their own. It's what they want to do. And, you know, I've had people come in, you know, from this East Coast of the States just for a weekend. And, you know, they can do that from New York, and they can fly direct into Scotland. So it's much easier. But if you are having a, you know, a 10-hour flight with a connection, and it might be the only time you come to Scotland, then you really want to enjoy it and make the most of the experience.
Okay, so I guess the next question is a popular one. A lot of people don't know how to play St Andrews. They don't know there's different ways to play it. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Well, you know, given that, as we were saying, St Andrews is the golf course that literally, if people have not been to Scotland, it's you know, it's the place they want to visit first and foremost. And the old course is the golf course that you know that they want to play. There is only one old course, and as more countries and the citizens of more countries get introduced to golf, that means there's more people wanting to play. And you know, the town of St Andrews is a fabulous town. It's you know, it's a population of about 17,000. It's got it's a university town.
A university.
Yeah, and so the university is, let me see, it's the 3rd oldest in the English-speaking world. It's the oldest in Scotland. It dates back to around 1410. Between 1410 and 1413, it was founded.
That's where Prince Edward met his wife, no?
That's right, Prince William. Prince William, yeah. So they were there. So they both studied there. So it means that the town always has a good buzz about it, because from September through to May, it's full of students. Some of them stay in the town, and then really from April through to, you know, October, it's just packed with golfers. So it's you know, it's a fabulous town for golfers. It's named after you know, Saint Andrew the Apostle, and you'll see at the top end of the north of the town there's the cathedral ruins, which certainly there's been a significant church in St Andrews for over 1,000 years, you know, and I think the cathedral itself dates back about 900 years to about 1100 AD. and within St Andrews, there are actually 11 golf courses, if we include Kings Barnes, which is slightly outside of St Andrews. But 11 golf courses, Old Course being the most famous. And the piece of land where the Old Course is, there are 5 other golf courses there as well. But everybody wants to play the Old Course. And so the Old Course was bought by the town of St Andrews back in about 1840. So what that means, it's a public golf course, and the land is actually public. So as you've seen, in any one day, there's people just coming up and walking on the course, and they can do. There is no fences, so on a night you can walk on the golf course.
On some days it's closed, no, if I'm not mistaken, and people go there and play frisbee and and do
Correct.
all the family activities.
Yeah, just running around playing, toddlers playing with a football and frisbee, and just sitting down and and just taking in the the sunshine in the summer. But it's closed every Sunday, and apart from major tournament days. And it is a public right of way. People walk all over it. And if you're coming up the 17th, the famous Swilkin Bridge, there's people running on and off and taking their pictures on the bridge. So there are probably 1, 2, 3, 4 ways that will get you onto the first tee. And the first is and one of the first is like an advanced reservation, if you like. So you're able to apply, groups and individuals are able to apply to the Links Trust, and that's the trust that manages the golf courses, including the Old Course, for the townspeople. And you can apply in September, say, of this year, for play next year. It is incredibly oversubscribed, because if you imagine, there's thousands of people applying for this all over the world. So usually the application process is around late August, and then you get to find out whether you've been successful in around November. So the best way that if people want to do that, the best way to facilitate that is we can give people the instruction on how to do that. And then if they are successful, we will build an itinerary around their tee time. And, for that, they will just pay the green fee. There's a slight premium on that. So they end up, golfers end up paying around $500, but that's for 2 tee times. So the Old Course tee time are never sold as individual tee times. You always get one other golf course in St Andrews. So you'll probably get the new or the Jubilee course. So you'll probably pay around $500 for your Old Course tee time and a tee time on the new or the Jubilee golf course. And so, if people are booking in way in advance, it's certainly one way of trying to get on the Old Course. And still, we'll in November of the previous year, we'll find out whether people are successful, and then people will just pay direct to the Links Trust, and we can build an itinerary around that. So and that's typically about $100 more than the actual green fee. Then there are guaranteed tee times. So we have an allocation of guaranteed tee times. So the language might sound, a bit unfamiliar, because it's like, I want to play at a golf course, and a tee time is a tee time. Well, as I say, the Old Course is different, and so tee times are allocated, to certain tour operators, but also to within the golf clubs within St Andrews. And there are 7 golf clubs in St Andrews who all count the Old Course as one of their courses, and they all play matches on there. So getting the guaranteed time, again, it will come with another golf course. So you get a pair of tee times, one on the old, one on the new or the Jubilee. And because they're guaranteed, so if you now, want to start looking for next year, we should find out soon. Obviously, with everything going on in the world at the moment, we should have found out about 2 weeks ago. That the allocation of tee times, we don't actually find out the dates and months and times of the tee times till June. But if you wanted to play, you'd say, yeah, I want to know my my kind of itinerary, and I want a guaranteed tee time. I don't want to wait to see if I can get a chance till November, because there may not be any tee times available then. Typically, if we have some available or some left, then you have to pay a premium on top of that, and we get charged that premium by the Links Trust. And typically, that is you'd be paying around about $1,000, just over $1,000, and that's just for the 2 rounds of golf. That's just for the 2
There's
rounds.
quite a difference between the regular green fee and the guaranteed.
Correct. And then if we have to, and then there is a little bit of a marketplace for them. So, the tee times, are limited and they go very quickly. But then if somebody's looking at specific dates, then we can look and, kind of trade times and things. And then we're just looking at market value. So, but you do get your guaranteed tee time. There is also the ballot, and so the ballot is also is another unique thing for St Andrews, and the ballot is, if you are looking to if you've been, say, unsuccessful in your advanced application, you say, look, I'm going anyway. Then what the ballot affords us to do is to apply for a tee time 48 hours in advance of you wanting to play. So if you wanted to play, you couldn't do it because it closed on Sunday. So if you wanted to play on Monday, we would have had to apply today before 2 o'clock. The results come out at 4 o'clock, and it's literally names are just picked out of a hat. And it's quite
important to mention that it's one name per foursome. So if you're in a group of 4, there's only one name. You don't put the 4 of them. So is it?
No, you do put the 4. What you can only do is you can only make one application.
Yes, that's what
I meant. Make one application, and if they see your name in there twice, then they'll scrub both applications. So, so if me and you wanted to play on Monday, we would have applied this morning, and we take care of that process, and then we would know, by 4 o'clock. And if you are successful, then we would have already arranged a tee time for you on Monday, so that you're not missing out, that you're playing golf. And then we take care of rearranging that tee time for you. It is a ballot, so it is chance. Typically if people are just doing a St Andrews itinerary, they'll stay there for 5 nights, and there's a reasonable chance, of getting on. Now, it's we can't say it's a guaranteed time, that you're getting on, because it isn't. But what we would say is that if there's a group of, say, 8 people, we would advise against it, just because the chances of pulling 2 4 balls out is slim. So if you have couples, just, like 2 golfers, 3 or 4 golfers, so it's just 1 tee time that we're looking at, then the ballot is a viable option. We get a relative success with that. And then the other, and probably the last option of playing, is just walking on. So if you're a single golfer, if you're traveling with a spouse or a friend who's a non-golfer, then there are spaces that come up on the tee sheet, and that's because the ballot hasn't been filled, or on tee times there's been a 3-ball, and so you can go. But you with that, you have to literally be first in the queue, so it's a first come first served, and people do
Also,
start.
one of the added values that we do, no, we send someone to go to the queue early in the morning around 4 or 5 in the morning, no.
If there's somebody there, then it's but it's also it's a good experience for people to take part in as well. We just had I just working with a group of guys, and they went in October, and so the thing that you've got to realize is that the ballot in October, the first tea time maybe 9 in the morning, the last tea time maybe 12:30. So it's a very limited tea sheet. So the ballot is restricted. Whereas if you go in June, the first person teeing off 6 in the morning, and the last person teeing off is 6 in the evening. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But we had 6 guys who wanted to play, and it was their last possible day to play. They'd been unsuccessful in the ballot all week. And I said, look, guys, there's a few spaces available, and I'm going to I'll be at the first tee at the starter's box and I'm just going to stay there in my car. As soon as I see somebody there, I'm going to give you guys a call, and you're going to have to come and queue. And the wind and the rain was horizontal. And there's guys coming out in their hotel kind of robes, and by 1:30, and so we then took the next 6 spaces in the queue, and by 1:30 there may be 20 guys, and certainly by 6 o'clock when the starter arrived, there was water forming on the fairways and the greens, and it was a Saturday morning, and so on a Saturday there are no guaranteed tee times, it's all ballot. But there was a lot of local competitions being played. But the one thing that I knew is that if the weather's bad and you're a local, well, you can play next week. You're going to stay in your bed. So we managed to get all 6 guys on, and there's a good camaraderie in the queue, and people are chatting away and hopping and taking a sleep and getting some coffee and staying in the car and coming back into the queue. So it's part of the experience, I would say, if it does come to that. But yeah, we kind of help facilitate that if necessary. But we'd also look at times of the year, if you're going to go on in a ballot, which avoid busy dates for local golf clubs, so that the ballot, there's not a lot of local tee times and not a lot of competitions, and that there is a full ballot rather than a restricted ballot. We would make sure that, or advise you certainly to go during those times.
Other advices that we always give away is, first of all, the handicap. It's really important. There's 23 maximum handicap, no?
You're right. It's extremely important for the old course. The handicap system is changing this year worldwide. There's developing a worldwide handicap system. So that's a change, a bigger change probably for us in Europe and the UK. Maybe not as much for Mexico and the States, but that's happening. But you will still have to, for men, it will be a 24 handicap, and for women, 36 handicap. And it's important that you have evidence of that, either from your GIN card, and they're all online now, so you can just show your phone, kind of driving license and your GIN card, or a letter from your golf pro saying you play to this handicap. There are a number of other golf courses that require handicaps, but certainly the old course do insist that you have that with you before you tee off.
Also, another advice is regarding the mats. Because of the weather, the course protects itself with, they gave away some mats, and the people have to play from the mats. So wherever the ball lands, you have to take the ball, put it on a mat, and then hit it for your next shot.
Yeah, and that's
The other part, we don't like that. We do not recommend that experience
no.
because there's nothing like hitting the ball and getting a debut of San Andreas. So, but it's important for you guys to take it in account. I think it's November through May, no, through April.
November through March. So typically it affects kind of European golfers who kind of come within that time frame. Obviously, the green fees are a lot less, and the hotel prices are a lot less. But if you're looking at a bucket list experience, if you're looking to come and really enjoy the golf courses in the best conditions, the longer days, then you want to be coming in summer, and so then you avoid the kind of issue of mats. But certainly, if you find yourself in Scotland or the UK during winter for conference or business, and you think I'm going to nip up and play, you will be playing off mats when you land on the fairway. In the semi-rough and rough, you don't. But on the fairways, you do have to play. But it's just those winter months.
If I have $2,000, I have a budget of $2,000. How would my itinerary look like, Lee?
$2,000. Well, definitely that'll get you a lot more at the moment because it's as I was saying, we've got a very favorable exchange rate. So I was thinking about this, and a couple of options. If people haven't played in St Andrews, then it's like it's their first time. They've only got $2,000, and can I get a reasonable itinerary? Well, yes, you can. And we'd probably be looking at a 5-night experience. 4 rounds of golf, and as a self drive. So we would get you a rental car. So you'd be looking based on 4 people, 4 golfers, so 1 tee time, and we usually get a nice kind of Viano or something which has got plenty of luggage space for the clubs and for the guys to be comfortable with. But you'll be looking at in St Andrews, one of the guest houses or bed and breakfast accommodations, which are fabulous, and there's a lot of them, and you really get a kind of a feel of the local culture because the owners
and also the hotel, you're only going to use it to sleep. You're going to be out there playing golf or on a pub or whatever. So
correct. Yeah.
I think it's a good way to go.
It is a good way to go. So for $2,000, you'd be looking at at sharing a room. So like what we call a half twin. So you have 2 beds in the room. If there's 2 guys in there. If it's a couple, obviously a double bed. And sharing a room, 4 rounds of golf. And if that was just in St Andrews, we would ballot for the old course, and then probably play. It'd be a mixture. You'd play the new course. You can play the Kittex course and Crail, which is just slightly outside of St Andrews. One of the oldest golf clubs in the world. Fabulous little golf course, and the Kittex has great views over the Bay of St Andrews. The new course just runs alongside the old course, and then we would ballot for the old course, and then we'd just pay the green fee on the day when we're successful. And then if we were unsuccessful in the golf for the old course, we could play the Duke's course or the Jubilee course or the Torrance course. So there's plenty of availability. So a 5-night stay in St Andrews, balloting for the old course, and staying in guest house or B&B accommodation with 4 rounds of golf would get you that. If we were looking at one of the other areas, I would say like in East Lothian, which is that area just south or just east of Edinburgh. So around about this area here, then we would be looking at a good 3-star accommodation, and playing the likes of Craigie-Law, playing Kilspindie, playing Gullen, North Berwick, or Dunbar. So 4 of those, you would be playing. So whereas in St Andrews, the one trophy course would be the old course. In East Lothian, you'd be looking at playing either North Berwick or Dunbar as your kind of top 100 golf course, and then the others would just be fun golf courses. It's links golf course, using every club in your bag. There's good pubs, nice accommodation, lots of locals. So it's very much more, you'd be mixing with locals and eating with locals in that area. So it is achievable. Again, that would be 5 nights and sharing a room and, and a self-drive. But certainly in St Andrews, there's not a lot of driving. And in East Lothian, all these courses are within 5 or 6 miles. So you'd be just looking at the one long drive would be from the airport to the region, which again is only 30 minutes.
And how much time in advance should someone book their experience?
You've got to be really looking to make your first inquiries as early as possible. It's never too early. Before all of this kind of situation happened, Christmas 19, we were looking, people wanting to book in 2021. So just making inquiries, just saying, this is what we're looking at. Can we start making some itineraries, together and start to get a kind of a general price. Often the prices aren't released until kind of maybe a year before, but it's always the earlier you are, we try, and if you're ready to commit and you like the kind of the pricing and the itinerary, then we will look and try and get that current year's rates for you. So and guarantee, like if it was 2021, try and guarantee 2020 rates if they haven't supplied them with us yet. But early as possible. But just because the likes of the Old Course, the likes of Turnberry, the major open venues do get booked, and they get booked. This year was full. Just before Christmas, 2020 was booked full. And so you can play. There are places that you can play, but if you're looking at specific golf courses, as early as possible, to guarantee you get to play them.
Okay, so we've talked about the scenario of having a budget of $2,000. Now let's think a little bit bigger. And what happens if I'm not on a budget? What can I do if money is not an issue for me?
You can pretty much do anything you like. I would still say that as with planning on any budget, as early as possible, would be advisable, because even if budget isn't an issue, if you do leave it late, then money doesn't kind of get you something that's not available in Scotland. And if you are looking at somebody being a bit cold in nature, it tends to be when you say, here's some money, make it happen, and it doesn't. So you are looking at booking in advance, but we're looking at the best accommodation. We can look at the 5-star resorts, the main 3 being Gleneagles, Turnberry, Old Course. Getting the best rooms there, all course facing or sea facing rooms, in those establishments. A driver throughout, so you have your own personal driver.
What do you think about this itinerary? For me, it would be staying a couple of days in St Andrews, at the St Andrews, the Old Course Hotel.
Sure.
That's where all the professional golf players stay when they play the Old Course.
Yeah.
And over there in the area of St Andrews, play the Old Course with a guaranteed tee time. Play Carnoustie and Kings Barnes.
Yes.
Then I would go over to the Turnberry area and I would play Prestwick and both golf courses over in Turnberry.
Yeah.
The King Robert,
The
King
Bruce.
Robert, sorry?
King Robert the Bruce, yeah.
Yes, and the Isla course.
Yeah.
And I would end up with living the experience of Glen Eagles. Definitely, if money is not an issue, that is a good place to wrap up your itinerary. It was named one of the best resorts in the world. Um, the Ryder Cup was there, and also there's a plus, which is there's a Michelin star restaurant there. So for all the guys that enjoy their food and wine, it's perfect to end their itinerary there.
It is, and it's. I mean, that's yeah, that's an exceptional itinerary. I mean, it's you know, fabulous golf. The Ailsa course, you know, is arguably my favourite golf course in Scotland. You know, along with Kingsbarns is just a fun quality golf course. Ailsa is just stunning. It's beautiful, really kind of fabulous golf holes. And you know, Glen Eagles, you know what they've done in the last 3 or 4 years there is fabulous for the resort. It's a busy, you know, they kind of ethos is really to return back to the you know, to the years in the 20s when everybody was kind of party, and it's you know, it's a party all the time there. It's fun, it's busy. There's a lot of domestic people go there. A lot of people from Scotland, a lot of people from England go to Glen Eagles. It does have the best restaurant in Scotland. It's a 2 Michelin star restaurant, and I think you know, we had we had a couple that that we sent over. I think not last year, the year before, and they certainly said that was their best ever food experience. And Glen Eagles used to be owned by Diageo, you know, so you know, who own Johnny Walker whiskey, and so their whiskey collection is renowned, well over 300 different whiskies. And I know one of our guests last year was drinking whiskey at around $2,000 a shot last year, and on his birthday, and he had a few of them. So
I remember, yeah.
yeah. But that's, you know, that's a great itinerary, and of course, if budget isn't an option, then you know, you can make those transfers by helicopter as well, if you like. And you know, certainly we, you know, as you know, we've facilitated that experience as well.
Yeah, we've done that in the past. I would personally say not to do all the transfers by helicopter because the trajectories between one place and the other, there's beautiful scenery. So
Yeah,
I would recommend only to do a couple in the helicopter.
just a couple. Yeah, for sure.
And also to enjoy. We in under par we try to take a look at all the details and try to make the experience a lot better. So, for example, for a group of 4 players, we might include a transportation for 6 people and make it a little bit bigger, so they are really comfortable. There's one type of bus that has this very big chairs, and they can play cards, and so that's part of the experience that we sell, and that we hope that everybody enjoys it. No?
I think so, and it's a good point. I think certainly in Scotland and in Ireland, and you know, we'll discuss Ireland sometime soon, is that, you know, arguably these two, and England arguably have the best golf transportation, you know, anywhere, because there is so much golf tourism. Then, you know, there are coaches, you know, most of the big transportation companies who we work with have a brand new fleet or a very new fleet, and you know, they're turning coaches which normally would hold 32 seats, into 16 seats. And they've got, as you said, the big leather captain's chairs, there's tables for cards, there's refrigerators, there's Wi-Fi's, and there's TV screens in these. And, you know, and even down to, you know, the small coaches, which normally have 12 or 16 seats, they, you know, many of our colleagues have 8 seats. And so you're extremely comfortable, extremely comfortable.
Also, one thing just to wrap up this question, or towards the people that don't have a budget or that money is not an issue, I would strongly suggest staying in a castle. That experience is just amazing. I lived it 2 years ago. We spent a couple of nights over at Glenap Castle, and it's something different. You would definitely like it.
And you also, it was Blair Castle you also visited as well. And yeah, so the castle experience, you know, it's there. The big stately homes or the castles, you know, are wonderful experiences. And, you know, you can take them exclusively if you like, you know, or you can, like with Glenap, you can just take a room, you know, or a couple of rooms. But you know, there are some, you know, wonderful exclusive use castles. And again, you know, if there's only 4 of you, you can still take the whole of the castle, you know, if you like. And, you know, as you say, just a fabulous experience.
Lee, would you, because we've been talking about the golf, but what about the non-golfers? Would you recommend a non-golfer to go along with a group of golfers to this experience?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, I think, you know, we've, as you talk about, you know, looking at every detail, you know, the non-golfer really has an enjoyable time. I mean, you know, if you're coming from somewhere like Mexico, California, or Asia, then Scotland, you know, is a very different place. You know, you're not getting a lot of, you know, kind of, you know, high rises in the city. There's a lot of kind of building regulations, certainly within Edinburgh. And then when you get to St Andrews, you're seeing houses which are, you know, people have bigger garages in California. And so, you know, it's a unique experience. And depending kind of, you know, on what kind of budgets that you're running, you know, you can be getting some great spa experiences at the fabulous resorts. You know, just touring around, just, you know, Edinburgh is a fabulous city. Glasgow is a cool city. It's a very industrial city, but it's a cool city. And if you're from somewhere like Mexico City with 20+ million people, you're in a city which has everything that a city has, but you're looking at, you know, less than 500,000 people. So it's a different city experience. And certainly with Edinburgh, for instance, there's a lot of history. It dates back about 2,500 years, the first settlements there. The Romans you know, arrived in Edinburgh 2,000 years ago. You know, we can go to distilleries, both the gin distilleries and whiskey distilleries. Gin is becoming, or has over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, extremely popular.
Hendrix is based in St Andrews, no?
You've got, yeah, and you've got Eden Mill, which it has these pots of gin, and but Scotland is producing some wonderful gins, you know, at the moment. So so that experience, just visiting castles, you know, you don't have to necessarily stay there, just looking at the history and looking at how people lived all these years ago, and just the you know, you can go and have lunch, and just the magnificence of, you know, of how folk live.
And the Highland Games also.
The Highland Games, yeah. So if there's a group of 12 or 16 for you, we can organise Highland Games. We can dress you up in kilts, and you can.
You still owe me my kilt, my friend.
Next time you're over here, we'll get you fitted.
Definitely.
But fly fishing for salmon and trout, we've got some of the best salmon fishing in the world. If you want to go stag hunting or shooting, you can do, and pheasants and partridge and woodcock. But as I say, just general touring. You can get a driver, you can drive yourself, and there's great itineraries that we can do. But you won't be short of things to do. You won't be short of things to do. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I hopefully we answered all your questions. And if you still have further questions, go ahead and contact us through our website, which is underpar.com.mx. Send us an email to contacto@underpar.com.mx or through Instagram, which is underpar.mx. And stay tuned for our next talk, which is Ireland. See you soon, my friends.